Comment Elon Musk gère-t-il ses entreprises? Est-ce qu'elles sont agiles? Nous, chez Scrum Life, on s'est posé la question. Et pour y apporter une réponse, on a demandé directement à Joe Justice. Joe Justice, qu'on a déjà fait intervenir sur Scrum Life, et qui, après avoir travaillé en tant que coach agile chez Tesla, partage avec le monde l'envers du décor de ces organisations incroyables. Aujourd'hui, on va découvrir les secrets d'une gestion qui repousse les frontières de l'agilité et qui explique certainement l'incroyable succès qu'ont aujourd'hui Tesla, SpaceX ou encore Neuralink, qui fait aussi parler de lui en ce moment. Alors prends des notes surtout, car aujourd'hui, nous allons parler de la budgétisation en temps réel, de l'allocation capacitaire guidée par l'IA et d'un outil présenté par Joe Justice qui te permet de rendre agile ta stratégie d'entreprise et que j'ai pu personnellement tester avec un client et qui a donné des résultats incroyables.
Hi Joe, it's really a pleasure to have you again on Scrum Life. And for those who don't know you yet, you are maybe one of the thought leaders about Agile in hardware and maybe more than that.
I might be the only person talking about how Elon Musk runs companies from the inside. There are two very well-written books on who Elon is as a person. Neither one talks about how Elon handles budgets or how Elon allocates resources inside the companies or how project management is prioritized. And I think, nearly the only one, if not the only one, who's trying to make that very clear, teaching the SpaceX model, the Musk model, the Tesla model. I was a Tesla employee and I visited SpaceX while a Tesla employee. I took notes every day and I've attempted to make clear how I think Elon runs businesses. And that's becoming a very popular business course all around the world. This spring, 2024, I'll get to be seeing you in Paris, then also Munich and Stockholm and Vienna and Helsinki and Gothenburg, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For people who want to know the course dates and maybe even join, it's abi-agile.com.
Maybe you can give us some quick insight of what are all the... why is budgeting so crucial? When we prepared, I said like with some kind of irony, as someone who try to do some agile transformations, that's always one of the core pain points.
Everyone should know Jean-Pierre is teaching online and in person and working with companies in person and online with some of the more interesting companies in the world on agility and their business transformation. So we've collaborated before. And what I think I've learned about budgeting in a Musk company that's very different than budgeting in any other company I've been in is that most companies have an annual budget or longer. The Volkswagen Group has a 9-year budget, for example. Many large companies have longer budgets, and that works out pretty well for them because it lets them coordinate with government. When the Volkswagen Group makes a 9-year budget, they can work with the Labor Council, they can work with government policymakers that are not yet even elected yet, but are likely to be elected or campaigning for election to say, here's our 9-year roadmap, our 9-year strategy. Where does that put us politically? And there's advantages to that. The Musk companies innovate faster than that. They don't know in 9 years what's important. They actually don't know tonight what is important. What I've seen differently about budgeting in the Musk companies than any other company I've been in is the Musk companies do real-time budgeting, or as it's popular being called now on X, hashtag no budgets. There's not forward-looking financial planning. Instead, it's real-time reporting of how much money is left and how much money is being made right now. And then AI-guided decision-making in real time is allocating money as new ideas are discovered. It's effectively instant. By that, I mean less than 5 seconds. And I've not seen that anywhere. Tesla is one of the Musk companies, and there's 150,000 Tesla employees in some of the largest factories on earth. And they don't run with forward budgets. They run with trend lines that are updated in real time, less than 5-second lag from sensors in the factory, and then the financial data that any analyst would have access to around the world.
You touched two other topics which I think are core in your course too, which are AI. I think we are kind in the middle of something which is depending on the companies. AI might be just a buzzword, sprinkle some AI on top of it, or maybe really core critical. And I think from what I understand that the Musk companies are truly one of the companies leveraging the most AI, and it's not just a fad or buzzwords. And another thing you mentioned was, to have an instant overview, which is also something to drive everyone. I think you put your name on it. You try to say, let's call this a justice board. And these are two topics of high interest, I think.
A lot of people wonder if you could know the best thing to spend your money on right now. If you could, how would you then allocate labor? And neither of the great books written about Elon talk about it. So I've tried to make it clear, and I found it had no name. It was just the way people were allocated or really allocate themselves in Musk companies. When I teach it outside of Tesla and SpaceX, I call it the Justice Board. The idea is there's a row, like on a spreadsheet, there's a row for any experiment that needs money, and that experiment can only get money if it's trying to make the company mission come true. And there's a way to measure it. There's a number to be measured. And each row on that board, the Justice Board, is an experiment to make that number get better. For example, the parent goal, the top goal for SpaceX is colonize other planets. That's the top of the Justice Board for SpaceX. Spread the light of consciousness out among the stars. Then under that, Elon picked the number. This is the number that needs to get better first to let us eventually colonize other planets. And that's cost to put a kilogram of anything onto Mars. Now that's pretty challenging. And Elon recognized that that's going to take a few years, maybe 9 years, he said. And so we're actually getting pretty close to it now. Then the number Elon picked under that is cost per kilogram to low Earth orbit. That's a very popular place to put commercial satellites, military satellites, any type of satellite into orbit. And people and companies and governments pay to put kilograms, stuff, into low Earth orbit. So that makes a business model. And Elon said, that's it. That is the number. When that number gets low enough, then we can focus on cost per kilogram to Mars. And once that number gets really low, we can talk really seriously about colonizing other planets. Okay, then when you're an employee in SpaceX, it's your job to propose any project, any row on this board that had no name. So I call it the Justice Board when I teach it outside Tesla and outside SpaceX. On the board, we just called it the board. You propose a row on the board that's your experiment or the people around you's experiment or an experiment to reduce the cost per kilogram to low Earth orbit. And you have a run rate. You see how much money that experiment is consuming a day, a minute, a second, depending on the type of work you're doing. Sometimes it takes a week to know how much money it's being spent, but a lot of the time it's faster. A lot of the time it's near real time, 5-second or less lag, because you have 10 people working on it, you know their salaries. That's the only thing they're working on. So you have this real-time burn rate of that project. Well, a useful experiment to reduce the cost per kilogram to low Earth orbit would be taking one part of the rockets. You can see them in my background behind me. This is a virtual background, but this is a picture I took at SpaceX in Boca Chica, Texas. It's my own picture while I was there. You would take one piece of the rocket, one part, and you and anyone that chose to work with you, it'd be your job to make it cost a penny less or more today. Not 2 weeks from now, not 2 years from now, today. To make one today that costs a penny less than the one before. And if you do, then you have this good number on your project. That is, you've made this part cost a penny less. And here's how much money it took you to do that. Here's how much it took your project to run. You made this part of the rocket weigh a gram less. You made this part of the rocket take a second less to manufacture. Every day, every part of the rocket is having experiments made to weigh a gram less, take a second less to manufacture, cost a penny less, and you have this real-time cash consumption rate. That lets humans and AI together easily prioritize which projects are currently the most effective. They're consuming the least amount of money and having the best result towards the parent KPI. And that's the Justice Board.
I think what you describe seems, it's always a paradox. It seems kind of obvious. It reuses a lot of concepts like a lean startup and things like that. It's often really hard just, to stop working on features, but to start working on experiments. Just that. I think we all agree on why it would work and why it makes sense. The real hard part is to actually put in place, I think. So that's the goal of your masterclass, I guess.
I'm really glad that I've been working for years as a special guest lecturer in your courses. And I think your students have become some of the best prepared business people now for this new world that they're walking into. And for them, I think ways of working like this, truly agile, short iteration ways of working with hundreds of thousands of people, is not strange to them. I think they're ready for this new way of working. But many existing companies didn't have the luxury of going through courses such as yours. And the majority of their workforce has never had this type of experience or education. The critical tipping point of knowledge of a new skill is 20% of your staff. If 20% of any group, so a large company, has gone through Jean-Pierre's courses, they would be prepared for this world, this new coming world. And in most companies, that's not yet true. So in Paris, where I'll be meeting you April 22nd, I believe, 2024, that's hosted by a company called Reactive. And I think many of the people watching this are familiar with Reactive. They work with many of the well-known large firms all around the world, but also in France. And what I've heard from their CEO, David, is many of these companies are being disrupted, at least in tiny parts, by AI. And they think that disruption is only going to increase and become larger. And they don't yet have any percentage of their staff familiar with working on their day-to-day operations with AI assistance. They're aware there's a thing called AI, how to actually accomplish their daily work in a superior way because of AI collaboration is something few to zero of staff are confident, comfortable, or trained in. One of the 12 pieces of the course that I'll be doing all around the world, also in Paris, is how to collaborate with AI. Exactly the steps. We'll practice it in 45 minutes. It's called #MobAI. The name mob here came from flash mob, where it looked like a group of strangers and a choreographed, beautiful performance emerges. And that's the idea of this kind of mob. A choreographed, beautiful thing should emerge out of a group of humans, in this case, collaborating with AI, which is the AI. It's, again, very simple. And if 20% of staff in a company is trained and experienced in #MobAI, MOBAI, they will then be ready to collaborate with many different kinds of AI on many different types of company work and be the disruptor instead of the one being disrupted, or at least keep pace and not be panicked and nervous and scared. So the business formula is 20% of staff being familiar, having knowledge of, and being familiar and experienced with a new skill is the tipping point. Well, where do you get that experience? It's emerging and new, and I'm one of the only people teaching it right now. So I'll be happy to meet you in Paris, in Vienna, in Munich, in Helsinki, in Gothenburg, in Stockholm, etc.
Hop, voilà, ça enregistre, test, c'est bon. Salut. Alors là, cette séquence, elle n'était pas prévue à l'origine du tout dans l'interview, dans la construction de cette vidéo. C'est en faisant le montage, là, on n'est pas longtemps avant la sortie de la vidéo, qu'on s'est dit, non mais elle a vraiment l'air cool, cette masterclass, faudrait qu'on y aille. Et donc du coup, là, voilà, j'ai un petit peu à l'arrache, je m'enregistre pour te dire que moi, Jean-Pierre Lambert, Scrum Life, je serai à la masterclass de Joe Justice le 22 avril sur Paris dans les locaux de Reactive. Donc si tu viens, ça sera en plus l'occasion de me voir, d'échanger avec moi, de suivre la formation ensemble. Il y a un moment où Joe Justice, il en a parlé dans l'interview, où justement il y a une session de Mob AI. Il y aura une mise en pratique, peut-être qu'en plus on se retrouvera à faire du Mob AI ensemble, encore une fois, si tu viens. Donc voilà, franchement, je pense vraiment qu'elle va super être top. Viens à cette masterclass, et puis encore une fois, ce sera l'occasion en plus de me voir, d'échanger avec Scrum Life. Je te dis au 22 avril, hein.
Merci beaucoup Joe Justice de s'être prêté à cette interview. On espère que tu l'as trouvée passionnante. Si le sujet t'intéresse, tu peux aussi regarder notre précédente interview de Joe sur Tesla. Et tu verras qu'elle complète très bien celle-ci. Mais surtout, saisis l'opportunité unique d'approfondir tous ces sujets directement avec Joe en présentiel lors de sa masterclass. La prochaine session en France sera le 22 avril sur Paris. Tu peux cliquer ici pour t'y inscrire. On te met bien sûr le lien dans la description. Et vraiment, on te conseille de t'inscrire. C'est un événement à ne pas rater. Joe n'est pas souvent en France, alors il faut vraiment saisir cette opportunité. Je te dis à la semaine prochaine. Ciao.